The more you try to be attractive, the less magnetic you become. Sounds contradictory, doesn't it? You spend hours getting ready, studying texting strategies, diving deep into male psychology. But the more effort you put in, the more it all seems to slip away. Meanwhile, some women do nothing. They don't initiate, they don't chase, they don't even try to impress. Yet men are drawn to them, obsessed with them, haunted by them even years later. Have you ever noticed that? Is it luck? Or are they doing something they don't even realize? Here's the truth. The most magnetic women aren't the loudest, the prettiest, or the most forward. They're the ones who live in their own energy, who carry a presence so subtle, so silent. It touches something primal in the male psyche. Carl Jung called it the collective unconscious, where archetypes live inside every man, and a woman, simply by being herself, can activate those archetypes effortlessly. No strategy, no performance. Just deep, unapologetic feminine energy. She makes a man feel seen, alive, connected. And in this video, you're going to discover 7 seemingly small things. Things you might already be doing that unconsciously make a man feel pulled to you in ways he can't even explain. Stay until the end, because the 7th one, it's the most powerful, and most women never realize they're doing it. There's something mesmerizing about a woman who doesn't rush. She doesn't rush her steps. She doesn't rush her words. She doesn't rush her energy. When she walks into a room, she's not trying to prove anything. She's not trying to catch anyone's attention. And yet, people notice. Men notice. Why? Because she moves in her own rhythm, in a world that's constantly pushing us to go faster, be louder, and do more. She becomes the contrast. She becomes the pause. And that pause feels like peace. It feels like softness in a storm. It feels like she's in tune with something deeper, something calmer. Men are naturally drawn to this kind of presence, not because she's performing, but because she's bottom-centered. Her energy says, I'm not in a race. I'm not here to be chosen. I already belong to myself. Carl Jung spoke about the power of individuation, the process of becoming truly yourself, and that's what she radiates. She doesn't need validation from the outside, because her worth isn't something she's trying to prove. It's something she lives. When a man sees this kind of woman, something ancient awakens inside him. Not desire, not lust, but reverence. It's like he sees her soul before he sees her body. And without her saying a word, he starts chasing. He wants to be part of that calm, that rhythm, that energy. But here's the part most people miss. She's not doing it for him. She's not slowing down to seem mysterious. She's not pausing to be seductive. She's just being her. And that in itself is irresistible. So if you're the kind of woman who naturally slows things down, who doesn't rush to respond, who doesn't force connection, you may not even realize it, but you're already creating a space where men feel something they don't feel anywhere else. Safe, seen, and silently challenged to rise. Let's move to the next chapter, where you'll see how a single glance without saying a word can pull him closer than any compliment ever could. There's a kind of power in silence. Not the awkward silence that makes people uncomfortable, but the kind of presence that doesn't need to fill every space with noise. High-value women don't rush to speak. They don't overshare. They don't talk just to get attention. Instead, they listen. Deeply, attentively, with presence. And when they do speak, every word carries weight. You see, most people are used to being interrupted. They're used to conversations where no one really listens, only waits to reply. But when a woman listens, truly listens, it makes a man feel something rare. He feels important. Not because she flatters him, but because she holds space for him to exist just as he is. Carl Jung once said, "Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darkness of other people." And a woman who listens without judgment, without trying to fix, without interrupting, creates a space safe enough for a man to confront that darkness. Most people don't realize this, but for a man, being truly heard is more intimate than being touched. And here's the twist. When she listens, she's not doing it to be liked. She's not doing it to win him over. She listens because she's grounded, because she's not threatened by silence, because she doesn't need to prove anything. And men feel that. They lean in. They share more. They show more. Because in her silence, they finally hear themselves. And in a world full of noise, that kind of presence, it's unforgettable. In the next chapter, you'll see how a woman's energy without a single word can invite love without ever chasing it. She doesn't chase love. She doesn't text first just to keep his interest. She doesn't try to prove she's different. She doesn't make herself more available than she feels comfortable with. Instead, she invites love, not with words, but with energy. There's something magnetic about a woman who simply lives her life fully passionately and unapologetically. She doesn't need to convince anyone to choose her, because she's already chosen herself. And that energy, it's powerful. It tells a man, this is a space you're welcome in, but not one you can take for granted. Carl Jung once described the feminine as the vessel, the container that draws in rather than chases. That's what she is. She doesn't run after affection. She doesn't beg for attention. She doesn't audition for love. Instead, her very presence is an invitation. If you're ready to show up with depth, you're welcome here. And if not, she lets you walk away without resistance, without drama. This kind of woman doesn't attract boys. She attracts men. Men who are ready. Men who are steady. Men who see her and know they want to stay. But here's the key. She's not playing hard to get. She's not using reverse psychology. She's not trying to manipulate anything. She simply knows her worth, and her life is already full. So if love arrives, beautiful. If not, her joy remains untouched. This energy is what makes men chase, because it doesn't feel like a chase. It feels like a calling, a woman who doesn't chase, but whose energy says only the worthy will stay. She becomes unforgettable. In the next chapter, you'll discover how emotional honesty, not perfection, creates the kind of intimacy men remember forever. She doesn't apologize for her feelings. She doesn't say, "Sorry, I'm being too emotional." She doesn't shrink her sadness, her joy, or her frustration to make others more comfortable. She lets her emotions flow, not to overwhelm, but to be real. This kind of honesty is rare, because most of us were taught that being emotional is being too much, especially as women. But here's the truth. When you hide your feelings, you create distance. But when you reveal them with grace, you create connection. Carl Jung spoke of the importance of integration, bringing all parts of the self into wholeness. A high-value woman doesn't divide herself into acceptable and unacceptable parts. She knows every emotion she feels, has a voice worth hearing. She doesn't suppress her softness. She doesn't mute her anger. She doesn't fake indifference when she's hurting. She allows it all, not in chaos, but in clarity. When she's sad, she says so. When she's moved, she shows it. When she's in awe, she doesn't hold back. And this emotional transparency, it doesn't scare men away. It draws them in. Because real intimacy isn't built on pretending everything is okay. It's built on truth. And here's what most people don't realize. Men crave safety too. Not just physical safety, but emotional safety. A woman who shows her real emotions teaches him how to show his, without shame, without fear, without judgment. That's rare. That's magnetic. So, if you've ever been told you're too emotional, just know this. Your emotions, when owned and expressed with depth, are not a flaw. They are a bridge. And any man who's truly worth your time will feel more seen, more known, and more connected because of your honesty, not in spite of it. Up next, we'll explore the unexpected power of saying no and why setting boundaries makes you irresistible. She says no without guilt, not with anger, not with drama, but with clarity. And that is rare, because so many women were raised to please, to be agreeable, to never rock the boat. But here's the truth. When you can't say no, your yes doesn't mean anything. A high-value woman knows this. She respects herself enough to have limits. She doesn't overextend. She doesn't abandon her own needs just to avoid disappointing someone else. When something doesn't feel right, she steps back. When a request feels too much, she honors her energy. And when a man crosses a boundary, she doesn't explain, beg, or convince. She just walks away. Carl Jung believed the shadow, the rejected parts of ourselves, often include our power. For women, that shadow can be the part that says enough. But once she reclaims that power, she becomes unshakable. And here's what surprises most people. Men respect boundaries, not because they enjoy hearing no, but because a woman who protects her energy feels trustworthy, safe, solid, not easily manipulated. She becomes the kind of woman a man wants to commit to. Because if she honors herself, he knows she'll never lose herself in him. That's powerful. And it doesn't come from being cold or harsh. It comes from knowing your worth and not needing to prove it. So if you've ever felt guilty for having standards, or afraid that saying no will push him away, just remember, a woman who stands firm in her truth is the one he remembers long after others have faded. Next, we'll step into the soft power of feminine energy and how being gentle doesn't make you weak. It makes you unforgettable. She radiates softness, not neediness. There's a big difference, and men can feel it instantly. Neediness says, I need you to fill my emptiness. Softness says, I am whole, and I choose to share that with you. You see, most people confuse being soft with being weak. But softness is not weakness. It's a quiet kind of power. A high-value woman doesn't chase. She doesn't cling. She doesn't try to control or force connection. Instead, she allows. She allows space. She allows emotion. She allows a man to come toward her instead of pulling him in. Carl Jung spoke of the anima, the feminine energy that exists in the unconscious of every man. And when a woman embodies softness, it awakens that part in him, not just his desire, but his heart. Softness doesn't demand, it invites. It says, you are welcome, but not required. And that subtle message is irresistible. Men don't run from softness, they run from pressure. But when a woman is soft, not because she's trying to get something, but because it's her truth. A man feels safe to show his own vulnerability. He can drop his armor. He can breathe deeper. He can feel more. That's when real connection happens. So if you've ever felt like being soft makes you less than, or that you need to act tougher to be respected, remember this. True softness doesn't come from fear. It comes from strength. And when a man meets that kind of strength, he won't want to let it go. Next, we'll explore one of the most powerful and mysterious things a woman can do. Walking away without a single word and leaving a mark that never fades. She knows when to walk away, and she does it without a scene. No yelling, no explaining, no begging, just silence. And that silence, it echoes. You see, walking away isn't about power games. It's about self-respect. Most people stay too long, in conversations that feel one-sided, in relationships that drain them, in situations where their worth isn't being seen. But a high-value woman, she doesn't wait to be pushed to the edge. She doesn't wait for things to get toxic. She doesn't wait for someone to finally see her value. She sees it first, and when something no longer feels right, she leaves. Carl Jung taught that when we deny our intuition, we deny the most ancient intelligence we have. A woman connected to her intuition knows when something is off, even if she can't explain it. And instead of arguing with herself, she trusts it. That trust makes her powerful because she doesn't need a grand reason. She doesn't need closure from someone else. She doesn't need to justify her exit. Her peace is reason enough. And here's what's so magnetic about it. When she walks away quietly, men remember. Not because she punished them, but because she never begged them. She showed what it looks like to choose yourself fully calmly and without drama. That kind of woman leaves a mark. So if you've ever been afraid that walking away makes you cold, remember, sometimes the most loving thing you can do is to walk away with your dignity intact. Because when you know your worth, you never have to prove it. Next, we'll go deeper into the final sign. The one thing high-value women do that taps into a man's deepest longing without saying a word. She makes him feel like he's home. Not through words, not through acts of service, but through the way she sees him beneath the surface. It's hard to explain, but you've probably felt it too. That moment when someone looks at you and really sees you. Not just who you present to the world, but who you are beneath the layers. High-value women have a way of doing this. They aren't impressed by status. They aren't blinded by charm. They don't fall for the mask, they're drawn to the man behind it. And when she looks at him, not with judgment, not with need, but with calm recognition, he feels something he hasn't felt in a long time. Accepted. Carl Jung believed that every soul longs for individuation, becoming whole. And in the presence of a deeply grounded woman, a man feels like wholeness is possible. Not because she completes him, but because she reflects back the parts of him he forgot to love. She sees the boy behind the man, the wounds beneath the armor, the longing behind the silence, and somehow, without doing anything obvious, she becomes a mirror of safety. He doesn't have to perform. He doesn't have to impress. He just has to be. And in a world where most people are craving to be seen, that's everything. So no, it's not about how she dresses, or how she flirts, or how much she texts. It's about the energy she carries, the way she holds space, the way she makes people feel like they can be their full selves without apology. That's what makes her unforgettable. That's what makes men feel like they've come home. And when a man feels that, he'll do anything to protect it. Now that you've seen the 7 unconscious things high-value women do, you're probably realizing something important. It's not about being better. It's about being real. Being soft where it counts, strong where it matters, and whole even before love arrives. So, maybe now you're realizing something. You don't need to chase. You don't need to prove. You don't need to become someone else to be loved. The truth is, the things that make you magnetic are already inside you. Your softness, your silence, your presence, your truth. You just have to stop hiding them. There's nothing louder than the quiet confidence of a woman who knows who she is. And nothing more unforgettable than a woman who loves herself enough to walk away from anything that doesn't meet her where she stands. If you've seen pieces of yourself in this video, if any of these 7 things resonated with you, it's not an accident, it's not luck, it's alignment. You're not here to be liked by everyone. You're here to connect deeply, soulfully, with those who truly see you. And that starts with seeing yourself. So don't rush to change. Don't rush to fix. Just begin noticing. When do you feel most like her? That version of you who doesn't chase, who listens deeply, who honors her boundaries, and trusts her energy. Start there, because the more you return to her, the more the world will return to you. If this video touched something inside you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you want more like this, more truth, more soul, more depth, you know what to do. Subscribe, because we're just getting started.